What's up, guys? It's Reynad back, and this time I wanted to do something a little bit different and do a video about my impressions on the state of the meta. I've been playing ladder quite a bit past couple days, or over the past week since the expansion released. I'm recording this right now in the morning of December 7th, so the expansion's been out for a week. I feel like I have a pretty good idea of where the metagame's at, and I kind of want to give you guys a more like in-depth and I guess subjective view of the metagame, kind of like compared to the meta snapshot, but kind of just my personal impressions of it and stuff like that. So anyway, I've been playing a lot over the past few days. I started streaming the game a lot, because expansion came out. It was fun. I kept playing the game when I turned the stream off. I basically wrecked my sleep schedule, so I've been playing off stream a lot over the past couple days. Well, not a lot, maybe like 4 hours each day. So that's really helped me, I guess, get a feel on where the metagame is, and I feel qualified to talk about this stuff right now. So ladder's been going pretty well. I got rank 1 legend a few times, actually. I had it when I went to sleep last night, and I woke up this morning and I decayed down to like rank 6 or something. So I had to play a few more games and get it back to 1. But I know what you're thinking, like, Reynad, did you actually make a video just to brag about getting rank 1? Well, mostly yes, but I also feel like I can give some metagame insight on top of that. So, metagame starts off with just a bunch of Pirate Warrior right off the bat. Everyone thinks Patches is broken because, the deck was strong, proactive. Just realized my camera's covering this. What's the point of zooming in? Let me make this overlay just a little bit less handsome for a second. There we go. Maybe I can even move this down here. Yeah. Alright, yeah, metagame starts off and everyone's playing this guy, right? It just gives Pirate Warrior and other pirate classes, as people soon found out, really broken 1-drops. Just, any 1-drop with a free Stone Disc board attached just automatically becomes pretty absurd. So yeah, it's a very powerful card, and this was kind of beating up on all the experimental decks people were trying early on because it was an effective, proactive strategy. Yeah, and Pirate Warrior is a good deck, but the all-in and aggressive one that you see a lot with Mortal Strikes and Heroic Strikes, that is not actually a very good deck. It's like a good deck, but it's like a deck that's going to be almost non-existent in a few weeks because once the metagame got more refined and people figured out how to build decks correctly, it just became a lot less effective, So on my climb, I played a little bit of everything, tried all the Reno variants, tried everything. The most proactive and effective ladder deck I found, just like aggressive ladder deck that just got you wins very quickly. Because again, if you're trying to rank up, speed matters. You'd rather have a slightly lower win rate with a faster deck in order to climb. The most effective deck was Aggro Shaman. I played Shaman more than any class, basically, during my climb. I got rank 1 legend with Reno lock, and I kept it with Reno lock, but this was the deck that I basically used to grind stars really quickly. And at first I thought this was like broken and unbeatable and doesn't lose to anything, and I tried so many variants. I tried Maelstrom Portals, I tried Hexes instead of Lava Burst, I tried Thing from Below, like a mid-range shell. They're all basically the same. They have the same good matchups, the same bad matchups. It doesn't really matter how you build this deck, to be honest. You can go like double Doomhammer, Rock Biters, you can do whatever you want. But long story short, you can see the pirate package in here basically gives this deck like 4 copies of Tunnel Trog. And Jade Claws, just in and of itself, is such a sick card. It's so good. Like, this card alone just wins you the game against Pirate Warrior decks and stuff like that. So, again, you don't have to play exactly this list. There's a lot of different ways to go about it, but this is the general type of deck I played a lot of on the climb just to get quick stars. I think it's better than Pirate Warrior. I'm like almost positive it's better than Pirate Warrior just overall. It's doing more broken stuff. And again, when I tried versions with Hexes and like more Azure Drakes and Things from Below, eventually I just tried like mid-range Shaman with some Pirates. Eventually I tried mid-range Shaman without any Pirates. You don't even need the Patches package. It's arguable that's not even optimal. There's just so many different ways to build it. But yeah, Shaman is just still really good, basically, is what I'm getting at. So, Shaman was basically beating everything except Reno decks. Like, all the Reno decks were absolutely destroying Shaman. So you have, like, as far as what the metagame is, you have, like, these two Reno decks basically, which is Warlock and Priest. You can build Reno Mage. That's something I'm going to dig into further. I think that might be kind of the next answer to the metagame. But yeah, basically Reno Priest beats almost everything except Reno Warlock. I'm sorry, let me start at the bottom, right? Mid-range Shaman. Like, of all the aggressive, piratey, proactive decks, this is basically the best one. And this basically beats everything except Reno. Reno Priest, on the other hand, beats basically everything except Reno Warlock. And Reno Warlock just beats everything. So that's kind of the hierarchy right now of decks. Reno Warlock's the deck I used to get rank 1 legend. I kept it. Like, when I had to play like 3 games this morning, it just doesn't lose. Like, if once you master how to play this deck, which I feel like I did back when Handlock was an archetype, it's mostly the same skill set as playing Handlock. Once you figure out how to just play this deck, especially in the mirror match, it's so good. Like, it just feels so powerful. Like, it beats everything. It beats everything. There's no bad matchup. There's nothing I'm unhappy to see. Honestly, Pirate Warrior, which is a deck this is slightly favored against, is like the worst matchup because sometimes they just have a draw that you can't beat. It's like a very draw-dependent matchup. But aside from Pirate Warrior, which, again, you're still favored, despite them being able to beat you, you're favored overall. Aside from that matchup, this deck is just nuts. You beat every single Priest ever because they can't beat Life Tap. You beat every Shaman ever because their deck just doesn't line up well against yours. You have board clears and healing. And then there's this guy, right? Kazakus, which is just so... I'm not even going to get into this. That's a video in and of itself. But this card's disgusting. This is like one of the best cards in Hearthstone right now. Like, when you play this card, it just does everything. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just like... You want it in every single matchup. It's absurd. Yeah, the fact that like Reno Lock was already maybe the best deck in the game when you drew Reno. The deck overall was weak in the last metagame because you didn't always draw Reno. When you didn't draw Reno, you lost to things like Zoo, and you would not draw Reno like at least half the time. Now you have 2 Renos, right? So almost always you're drawing some broken card. And your life tapping. So, like, the odds of drawing one of your... Like think about the odds of Druid drawing Wild Growth on turn 2, which is basically 100% of the time if they're my opponent. And then think about this deck. It's like you have 2 copies, just like Wild Growth and Druid, except it's like a 4-drop and a 6-drop. So you don't need it in your opening hand. You need it, like, by turn 6, or whenever you draw Kazakus, it's good. Doesn't matter. So, like... You keep those cards in mulligans most of the time. Kazakus I don't always keep, depending on the matchup, but you keep those cards almost all the time, and then on top of that, you're life tapping. You're almost always going to draw your broken stuff. And when you're combining these like game-defining like broken things that you just play and they change how the game plays, when you're combining that with like all these other just effective tools, the fact that the deck is like so adaptable based on what the metagame is, just overall you get this really broken thing it's not doing like degenerate stuff the way that like Patron Warrior or like Midrange Shaman or Secret Paladin was, but it's just good. It just has no bad matchups. It has answers to everything. It's very rewarding once you learn how to play it. If you're bad with the deck, you're going to lose with it. All of these things I love. Like, this is exactly the kind of deck that I want to be the best deck in the game. Because I've always loved, Handlock's always been my favorite deck in the game. Handlock mirrors, especially. And when I play a Reno mirror, it feels like a Handlock mirror, right? My win rate in the Reno Lock mirror, I think, is like 11-1 or 12-1 or something. My one loss was on stream. I was reading chat or something, and I looked back, and I think I made a mistake. But yeah, it's fucking so good. It's so good. Moving on, right. It doesn't, just because Reno's broken and it beats most of the pirate decks, it doesn't mean that pirates are bad. They're actually like a very key part of the metagame. At first I thought patches should get nerfed because, well, quite frankly, cards like this should never get made. It's overall just a mistake in design to create a card that a card that does stuff in exchange for no resources. When I say no resources, I don't mean no mana. Like, this is going to be a video in and of itself, probably. Maybe I'll just talk about it now. Everyone keeps talking about like why patches is broken, and then they use the stupidest fucking reasons. if you use the word thinning at all in any card game at all for anything you're talking about, you're bad at the game. Actually do the math on what the word thinning means and like the probability of it changing any draws, especially in the 5-turn games that you're playing with patches decks. And it's just a retarded argument. Never, thinning doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that this thins anything. I hate that that term is even thrown around. Like, my biggest pet peeves are like thinning and win condition. Like the fact that people use those terms even though they're actually meaningless, and the people that say them don't even know what they mean. Whatever, I'm going to move on. But it's not good because it thins. It's not good because it doesn't cost mana. It's good because it doesn't cost a card, right? You're paying no resources. It's not just that you're paying no mana, but it's mostly that you're not losing a card to get Stone Tusk Boar. And when you're exchanging no resources in exchange for something, you're not just getting like card advantage out of it, you're also getting tempo advantage because your 1-drop is just better than it should be. It's Flame Imp with upside. Like, that's actually absurd. So what you're looking at here is basically Dragon Pirate Warrior. It's a little bit more robust, less all-in. Is this better than just all-in Pirate Warrior? I'm not 100% sure, but it's definitely a very competitive deck. You can tech it a lot of different ways. If you're seeing a lot of, if you're like lower ranks and you're seeing a lot of Pirate Warrior yourself, you can cut like Blackwing Technicians for Ravaging Ghouls. You can, if you're seeing a lot of Reno, you can cut Southsea Deckhand and you can add like Gromosh or Ragnaros. If you're seeing a lot of Shaman, you can cut a Kor'kron Elite, cut a Southsea, play like Blood to Ickers. There's lots of different ways to go about it. It's also a very flexible deck and how you can build it, but overall, super competitive. It's kind of the direction I think aggressive Pirate Warrior decks will go. But yeah, very strong deck. And yeah, essentially, like, the other classes are just a lot weaker right now. Hunter, something I'm going to test more. I've played it a little bit, but I haven't even played a game of that particular list, so don't rely on that. But, you know, the metagame's just going to, the metagame is going to flesh itself out more as more and more people play it. Things will change over the coming weeks, but some things won't change. You know, like, Hunter will become better positioned if too many people are playing Reno. But Reno, the beautiful thing about the deck is that it's like exactly the kind of deck that will never be too represented, I think, even when it's really good. Like, even when Handlock was the best deck in the game, some people just don't like playing slow Warlock games where they get punished for mistakes. They just want to play idiots on curve and then attack with them. So I love that even if Reno's the best deck in the game, it's not going to be like overrepresented too much. And the mirror match is very skill intensive. So I'm really happy that I think Reno will be able to adapt to almost any metagame, and mostly because Kazakus was added to the game, it's just going to stay #1, or at the very least high tier 1 for a long time. So really happy about Reno being good. Reno Priest, it's like, I mean, Reno Priest is a good deck, but I don't understand why anybody would play it. It's good against all the same stuff that Reno Lock is, except it loses to Reno Lock. It's like a strictly worse version in almost every way. But Reno decks have a lot of different ways you can build them, and maybe if you build like an OTK finish in Reno Priest, then you can beat Reno sometimes with like Prophet Velen and some Burn or something. There's some stuff to think about there, but yeah, overall, Rogue. Counterfeit Coin's really good in the Miracle decks, but the Miracle decks just get run over by these face decks, which there's a lot of. I'm going to mess around with some Questing Adventurer type of lists. Patches helps Rogue a lot because you can play it with Swashbuckler, which is a card you probably want to play anyway. Overall, Rogue's not fully explored yet. Druid, everybody's playing Jade Druid, and they're doing okay with it, but I don't really know why. It loses to Reno Lock, it loses to... It's like 50-50 against aggro. I want to say it beats like Shaman. Jade plus just all of these other things being played right now kind of pushed Control Warrior out of the metagame. Although it's not dead. You can definitely build like more Armorsmith based lists if you're seeing a lot of Pirate Warrior. I think a lot of the old archetypes we're going to start seeing more and more of. Paladin... all the hand buff Grime Street crap is unplayable. It looked really bad to me when I saw it spoiled, and like in the set review, I said Paladin would be the worst class. Having played that, I basically feel like it's been confirmed. Like, I don't understand what it does better than any other deck in the game. It just seems really, really bad. But with that said, Murloc Paladin is actually really good because you get Finja. Well, it's not even like Finja helps. The deck itself is just well positioned. It's good against Reno right now because people don't know how to play the matchup. But once they learn it, you can just Kazakis for like the 10 mana sheep card where you sheep everything on the board. And then you just counter the Murlocs. But then the Murloc player can play their Murlocs and Pyro quality their own Murlocs to try to get around that if they've seen Kazakis get played already. It's like a very intricate matchup. But long story short, Finch is actually pretty good, right? He puts Murlocs in your deck that don't have charge. So in theory, when you any Fin, he'll mess up your OTK sometimes. But it doesn't really matter. It almost never comes up. And just the fact that you can play him and pull the other Murlocs out of your deck, it makes your any Fin so much faster, and you don't have to play that long fatigue game where you draw every card in your deck in order to do that. You just play this guy. If they try to play around it, you just play equality and trade him into something, and then you just play any Fin on 10, and like they're really far behind. So this deck has a lot of potential. I'm still gonna try some really weird looking lists with small time recruits and all the 1-drops because I think those might still have potential. Where is that card? Is it called small time recruits? Yeah, this thing. Still gonna try this out because I think this card actually has a lot of. I gave it a bad review in the overall, like for aggressive decks, but I think for combo oriented decks this has potential. But yeah, I mean that's kind of where I'm seeing the metagame at right now. Priest has potential. I think just Reno Priest is still strong. I don't know if you need to go full like dragon with the deck. Draconid Operative is obviously such a strong card that maybe you do. Where is he? This guy, right? Basically like the most I mean everyone knew it's insane. Like obviously this card is built to make this deck good. It's not enough to make it tier 1, but it helps a lot. But yeah, the fact that you can get Netherspite Historian and then find this guy so often because of the Discover bonus for the class makes it pretty powerful. So maybe you play Reno just for that. I mean, the main advantage, right, is you get Raza. So like for Warlock, okay, the Reno classes all got an additional Reno card, right? The Warlock one is Cruel the Unshackled, who is completely unplayable. And then you have the Priest one, which is actually insane. Priest is the only one that gets a very good, like, third Reno, basically, right? There's Reno, there's Kazakis, and now you have Raza, who of the three is the weakest, but still, like, actually a good card. Whereas, you know, Cruel doesn't even make it into the Warlock Reno deck because he sucks. I haven't even tried him. Maybe, you know, to be fair, I haven't played with him, so maybe I'm wrong about this, but I'm, like, fairly certain that card's just not good. And then there's the Mage one, right? And the Mage one is interesting. If you're playing, like, a tempo Reno Mage type of list, then it's good. But overall, I think the deck is just better not playing her most of the time. She's just kind of mediocre. Because in order for her to be good, you have to play all the 7-mana guys, which you don't always want to play depending on the build. But yeah. Anyway, Hunter can it might be the answer to Reno Lock. It was always the answer to Handlock back in the day because Savannah Highmane is so insane against Control Warlock. Always has been. Other than that, you've got Druid, which actually has so much ramp and broken utility stuff now. It's just, there's going to be some extremely high tier build of it, but I wouldn't be surprised if we just go back to the same Malagos list we had before. There's a new Kun plus Aviana combo that you can do. Basically, if you play Aviana, then you play Kun, right? Then you have 10 mana, 2 dudes, and all your minions cost 1. So along with that, you can play a bunch of combos. I was playing it with some Cthulhu cards and trying to OTK Cthulhu people. You can also do it with like Malagos, and then you Faceless Manipulator your Malagos, and then you blow them out that way. But all those combos require so many cards that you'd rather not be playing that it makes me wonder if it's just better to like play this for value, like the two of them. Also, Dirty Rat kind of messes with that. It's just a really weird card that nobody really knew how to evaluate, but I'm not going to say it's broken. I'm not going to say it's bad, but I play it in Reno. It comes up a lot in those control matchups. It has synergy with another card you already want to be playing a lot of the time in mind control tech. Right? If they have 3 minions, then you can just like Dirty Rat and then mind control tech, and then complain about stealing, the imp token or whatever. There's a lot of synergy there. It works with brand too. Everybody's playing Doomsayer, so you can Dirty Rat when they play Doomsayer. You can Dirty Rat when you play your own Twisting Nether or Shadow Flame. This card has affected control matchups quite a bit, actually. So that's just kind of my rant about where I see the metagame. But yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of proactive piratey decks, like Tempo Rogue with Bladed Cultist, also a good deck, by the way. These decks are just going to kind of get thinned out over time. Like the ones that are just slightly too weak, that their win percentage is like a few percent lower than the other decks, they're just going to get played less and less because people just want to win, so they'll just play the broken stuff more. But yeah, right now the metagame is essentially, there's these patches decks that are like pretty solid. They lose to the Reno decks most of the time. And that, well, not most of it, it's kind of close, but overall the Reno decks are slightly favored. And then of the Reno decks, the Warlock version basically beats all the other Reno decks because it has life tap. So, yep, that's where I see the metagame. It feels so rewarding to play this deck. Like, when I queue into the mirror match and I know that I'm like 90% favored, just because I'm going to make less mistakes, that's like a really good feeling. So, I've been enjoying the metagame a lot. Give it a try, guys. Whatever, I recommend learning Reno Lock, but almost any class you want to play right now is just kind of viable in some way. Again, I haven't tested everything. I still have to test combo lists. I still have to figure out how Hunter works, because this class might have some potential. We'll see. But yeah, I'm going to be streaming pretty soon today. I just kind of test some more stuff, see how it works out. Thanks for watching. Give you some more rant videos in the future and stuff. Yeah, have a good one, guys. See ya.